Thank you. Thank you for being here. I have a few acknowledgements. We have Chief David St. Pierre here. We have Lewiston City Councilors here. We have members of our state delegation here. Brian O'Malley and city staff, Superintendent Jake Langlis. We have the DA, Neil McLean here. Amran Osman from Generation Noor. Rilwan Osman from Maine Immigrant and Refugee Services. And Fatuma Hussein from Immigrant Resource Center of Maine. And many other Lewiston community organizations. Thank you all for being here. Good afternoon. Thank you for coming today. I want to begin by expressing my deepest gratitude to the men and women of the Lewiston Police Department. Their unwavering commitment to keeping our city safe, particularly in these challenging times, is something we should all be proud of. As many of you know, we have seen an unfortunate uptick in gun violence recently. While this is concerning, I have complete faith in our city's ability to address these issues head-on together. This is not a challenge that our police force can solve alone. Gun violence is not just a law enforcement issue, it is a community issue. We've seen before how powerful we can be when we come together. After the events of October 25, we united as one city, one community, and we can do it again. Lewiston is more than just a city. It's our home, a place where families grow and traditions like the Balloon Festival bring us together. When violence strikes, it hurts us all, regardless of where it happens. That's why I'm calling on every resident, every business, and every neighborhood to join in this effort. Chief St. Pierre will lead us through the city's initial plan to make important changes, and our collective action is crucial. Together, we can and will overcome this challenge, ensuring that Lewiston remains a safe, thriving place for everyone. Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the press, community members, delegates, and everybody that's here today to hear these messages. On behalf of the City of Lewiston, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. We're here to talk about the City of Lewiston's initial plan to prevent and respond to gun violence. I appreciate the folks who are up here taking part through what this will look like. Let's take a moment of silence, please, to honor those in the community who were victims of gun violence. Thank you. I want to begin by saying that I understand the community's frustration. What's more, I share your frustration. The officers whose job it is, day in and day out, to run toward the violent events in our community are frustrated as well. The city and school staff are frustrated. We all are. And every day, we're working hard to make the changes we need to make. We all need to do a better job talking about that. For our part, the men and women of the Lewiston Police Department hit the streets every day to serve and protect our fellow community members. We do so with pride and by working hard alongside the many members of this community. Every single officer at the LPD is committed to doing our part to put an end to these dangerous crimes. We're working around the clock on ongoing investigations related to the recent shootings. And I know this doesn't feel like enough. I know all of us want to rest easy, knowing that the people we love and care about are safe. We all believe that every kid and educator deserves to go to school without fear. We all believe that we deserve to go to community events without fear. We all believe that we deserve to go bowling, out for a game of pool, or to join buddies to play a round of cornhole without fear. So I want to be very clear from the outset here. The only acceptable number of shootings in any community is 0. And yet, over the last 8 months, Lewiston has seen 27 incidents where shots were fired. Of those 27 incidents, 3 were self-inflicted and 2 were victims who were shot by someone else. This summer, we've seen several incidents in quick succession, and many involve the youth in our community. This is unacceptable, and we're all frustrated. And we can't just sit on our frustration because that doesn't get the job done. Over the last few weeks, we've worked through ideas to help move Lewiston towards more prevention, more connection among community members and the city, and more investigatory support for when shootings do happen. Here's what we're working on. We've requested that the Lewiston's legislative delegation identify and propose policy changes to address significant challenges in our judicial system. Just this week, Androscoggin District Attorney Neil McLean and the City of Lewiston staff joined me and others from the police department in a very productive meeting with Lewiston's legislative delegation to ask them to work with their colleagues in Augusta to help us address a number of issues we're seeing on the ground. I'll let DA McLean discuss those challenges his office is seeing in a moment. For the LPD and the city's part, I can tell you that despite the diligent work of our LPD officers and the district attorney's office, cases are frequently dismissed or the charges are significantly pled down. This cannot continue, and our legislative delegation agreed that the status quo is unacceptable. We know these challenges are exacerbating existing safety issues in our community. We know many victims of crime are not seeing the justice they deserve. We also know there's a growing perception in the community that criminals are not held accountable due to these very issues. We've asked the legislative delegation to take a look at these systemic issues, and we've committed to maintaining regular communication with them to ensure they're aware of the issues that we're seeing on the ground. We will also provide them with the data and the support they need to propose and pass legislation that will help us improve our community's safety. With that, I'd like to invite Androscoggin District Attorney Neil McLean to say a few words.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with Chief St. Pierre, Lewiston Police Department, and many of our community friends that are here behind me. I think it's important for the community to see us here as a group and understand that collectively these community outreach individuals we work with and programs we work with are essential for us to be successful. We need their help. And it's good to see that they're here with us today, that we communicate with them regularly, and I know some of what I understand that Chief St. Pierre is intending to do are great plans that will help address some of these issues. And again, it will be in partnership with people that you see up here behind me. It will be in partnership with my office, and there will be other people that are involved, and that's how we'll really attack this issue as a community. I hope as we go forward, that folks who are in places that can make a difference will recognize we need more law enforcement officers on the street, not less. We need those law enforcement officers placed in the right areas within our community to make sure those parts of the community are safe. I'm confident that Chief St. Pierre knows those areas and will utilize his officers correctly. I think that's the beginning of how we start to address these issues. But it will also rely on communications with individuals within the community, and we hope to continue to build bridges both through law enforcement and my office directly with community groups on best practices, best ways to communicate, to discuss these things, and to help move these investigations along. Because what I can tell you is when there's a shooting, Lewiston PD is there, but they are not there when it happens. And it's the when it happens that we need to know to be able to do our job at the prosecutors have. We need to know who did it, how it happened, who was there, what the circumstances are, and for that, oftentimes we have to rely on the public to talk to law enforcement, to explain what they know when law enforcement do show up to address these issues. And to be fair, that is a massive breakdown within our community right now. Often people don't want to talk to law enforcement, and that delays law enforcement's ability to investigate crimes and to find out who needs to be held accountable. So I'm honored to be up here with this group of people. I could look forward to continuing to work with them. I look forward to continuing to work with all of you. I work for you. You should reach out to me directly if you have questions. Our office is an open door policy, and we're always willing to listen to the community because we represent you. So we are here primarily about gun violence and violent crimes within the community. But one of the other issues that I think all of us are concerned about is the criminal justice system. And that's something I want to take just a couple of minutes to talk about from my perspective, because it's what happens to these cases after they get into the court system. Law enforcement is your front line of defense for public safety. Your prosecutors are your last line of defense. And we fight like crazy every day on behalf of public safety for you all. And the unfortunate truth is the narrative out there generally, and it's unfortunately said far too often, is that the DA's office is just dismissing cases and not doing much, declining cases, sort of a lazy approach to law enforcement. Nothing could be further than from the truth. We have 10 prosecutors allocated to Androscoggin County, one of the busiest courts in the entire state. That might be the lowest number of attorneys allocated by the state for a county this large with this much of a caseload. Couple that with the fact that since July of 2023, your Androscoggin office has been down to 6 attorneys. In April, it's very likely we'll be down to 5. So you have, if we stick with the 6 number, you've got 6 prosecutors covering all of Androscoggin County. And if you can imagine, the number of cases currently pending in Androscoggin County, there are 2,386 cases pending. There are 269 cases awaiting initial appearance. That's a total of 2,655 cases for really 6 prosecutors to handle. It's about 442 cases per prosecutor. Compare that against the defense bar and the Maine Commission on Defense Defense Services, and they cap their attorneys at 270 points. 270 points, a lot of those cases are multiple points. So they're not 270 cases, it's a lower number than that. But that puts us, even if you use 270, at 172 more cases per attorney than all of the defense bar, anyone within the defense bar. And that's something we have to balance, and we do. If you imagine we can do 5 trials per month in a year, in a month, 5 trials per month, it probably is being generous. But if we use that number and we extrapolate it out over a year's time, that's about 60 trials. At 60 trials a year, to beat down, to really address that 2,655 caseload, it would take us 44 years to try our way out of this. So prosecutors are left in the terrible position of having constant incoming cases, dealing with that backlog of 2,655 cases, and we are that last line of defense for public safety that's in the courtroom, fighting like crazy. How can we move cases? How can we ensure public safety isn't compromised while we do this? But if we do nothing, if we don't move some cases, the system will implode. You hear it from the highest justice in the state of Maine, to many within the judiciary talk about it. The criminal justice system is in crisis, and we are really the safeguards of that. And I think sometimes that's what people don't understand when they see how cases are handled. They don't understand that we're balancing public safety first and foremost, always. We're dealing with incoming cases, massive backlogs, and we have an obligation to make sure this system doesn't implode. Because if the criminal justice system implodes, we all lose. So that's the obligation we live with daily. And what I will tell you about my prosecutors, and I think this is important for people to know, I don't think there's a prosecutor in Androscoggin County that doesn't work 60 hours a week. I know I work more than 60 hours a week, and when I email prosecutors at night, which is about the only time I can sit down and catch up, they respond. So they're working, we're working, and remember, a prosecutor gets paid 40 hours a week. They're salaried. They also get paid, an incoming prosecutor gets paid $35 an hour. Compare that against the defense bar, who a contract attorney gets paid $150 an hour. We're also being competed out of being competitive in hiring. That's why we can't find new hires. So all of these play a role. This isn't to quite frankly, make anyone feel bad for the prosecutor's office. It's to make you, or help you understand the prosecutor's office and why cases are handled in the way they are. But make no mistake, these prosecutors are dedicated and work like crazy to do the right thing with these cases, always with public safety in mind. But remember, the system has to stay afloat, and that's part of our job as well. So thank you. Like in charge of the theft.
Goodness, I apologize. No, I think I'm where I need to be. I'll give you those back afterwards. Thank you, DA McLean. We appreciate how hard you and your team work each day. Next, I'd like to talk about the changes we are implementing at the Lewiston Police Department to help increase our ability to investigate and prevent gun violence. As of July 2024, LPD has increased proactive patrols, also known as foot patrols. Currently, there are at least 9 officers on the beat at all times, and frequently I approve more. Proactive patrol officers' goal is to walk around downtown, interact with community members, spend time with youths in various locations throughout the community, and be available and on duty for calls. All officers are doing proactive patrols, not just these foot patrols, including our beat officers, in addition to answering the regular calls for service. In my 32 years as being a police officer, I have not seen us do more. We also understand that we need to be even more of a presence throughout the community. So to that end, we are requesting funding for 3 months of LPD overtime from the Lewiston City Council. That overtime funding, if approved, will go toward more proactive patrol officers on each shift. When a shot rings out, we get several calls on it and we respond. And we need to ensure that we have enough officers to do so safely and efficiently. We need as many tools in the toolbox as we can, and we're pushing for more as much as we can at the state and federal levels. As many of you may know, LPD works closely with many state and federal law enforcement agencies, including the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, or ATF, the FBI's Safe Streets Task Force, both the Main Drug Enforcement Agency and the federal DEA, as well as the U.S. Attorney's Office. We'll continue to do that and increase that work where possible, particularly where there is an overlap with gun violence. We've also identified and are requesting more federal support for Lewiston, including from the U.S. Marshals Service and the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. We will or have assigned officers to this work. Our work with these agencies will allow us to utilize their resources, their technology, and other supports as they assist us in these gun violence investigations. The city also plans to request additional support from the Federal Office on Gun Violence Prevention, and are looking forward to our conversations with them. These federal agencies and offices are ready and willing to do what they can do to help us out and get us the resources that we need. And we are very grateful for their help. We have requested a demo for some advanced camera technology, which has specific capabilities that will help us address gun violence, particularly drive-by shootings. We know community members have safety concerns. Community members have related to talking to law enforcement. They may fear retribution or further involvement, which makes camera footage even more valuable because sometimes that's what makes or breaks a case. As time goes on and we see the outcomes from these changes and supports, we will adapt to these pieces of the plan to further our efforts and communicate that work to all of you. Next, we plan to further engage with community organizations, community leaders, parents, youth, to provide information, improve communication, and increase understanding and trust. Our community has come a long way in the last 25 years. And like many other communities across the United States, we have more work to do. Just as we can unite and cheer on our Class A champion soccer or mock trial team, we also need to share responsibility and collectively confront the challenges we face now. To that end, I want to thank the community organizations that have stepped up to host conversations about gun violence. These conversations are not easy to have, never mind convene. On behalf of everyone at the City of Lewiston, I'd like to thank Generational NOR, IFCA Community Services, the Immigrant Resource Center of Maine, LA Youth Network, Maine Community Integration, Maine Immigrant and Refugee Services, the Somali Bantu Community Association, the Sustainable Livelihoods Relief Organization, Tree Street Youth, United Youth Empowerment Services, and many others for your leadership. These conversations have been critical to informing the city's plan for community engagement aspects of this work. We know that to prevent and respond to gun violence effectively, we need to do it in a partnership with the community. Some aspects of the city's plan moving forward include supporting existing community conversation efforts. We want to continue to encourage community conversations. We hope that more community members will engage, including local and state policymakers, city staff, in addition to us at the LPD, youth and parents, educators, and more. I'd like to invite Amran Osman, founder and executive director of Generational NOR, to offer a few words.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Amran Osman and I'm the executive director of Generational NOR. But more importantly, I'm a Lewiston resident. I grew up in Lewiston. I attended preschool, middle school, and high school here. And Lewiston has always been my home and a place I deeply cherish. It pains me to see the ongoing violence that's affecting our community. Every day, it seems we are faced with another shooting, another loss. This relentless cycle of violence is eroding the very essence of what makes Lewiston special, and it needs to stop. Our city is better than this. We are a community that thrives on diversity and shared strength, but to overcome these challenges, we must come together. We need to stop othering each other and pointing fingers. We need to stop blame and division because that only serves to weaken us. Instead, we must unite and support one another and work together towards meaningful solutions. To our city officials and police officers, we appreciate your willingness to partner with us, and we need you to deliver on the changes you promised here today and to be proactive in addressing the issues we face. You need to work with the community you serve. To our community members, it's our duty to hold our leaders accountable. This is our tax money at work, and we must ensure that it's used effectively and to create a safer space and a more secure environment. To our school officials, it's your responsibility to work with our parents and community leaders to engage with our youth and to support them and to help them navigate these challenging times. And to the youth of our city, I want to speak directly to you. I know that these times are incredibly tough, but I want to tell you that the guns and this violence is not worth your life. You're capable, you're worthy, and you're deserving of so much more. Please don't let one moment of anger, of fear, dictate the course of your life and someone else's life. You have so much potential and time ahead of you. Don't let this never-ending violence take that away. To the youth, your lives matter immensely, and there's so much good that you can contribute to our community. Please choose hope, choose to seek help, and choose to be a part of the solution. There are people who care for you, and there are resources available to support you. And lastly, I want to invite everybody to a crucial community meeting on September 4th at Connors. There, we will hold a community work group to discuss and develop actionable next steps. This is our opportunity as stakeholders and to collaborate and create concrete plans and to hold each other accountable. The work needs to be done now, and it's up to us to ensure that Lewiston becomes a better place for ourselves, but most importantly, our future generations. Our community deserves better. We deserve better. But more importantly, our kids deserve better. Let's commit to working together to build a city where safety, support, and hope are not just ideals, but reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Amran. We do appreciate your work. One thing that came out of these community conversations was the importance of educating parents about the issues that we're seeing. The police department and the Lewiston Public Schools will partner and offer parent information sessions about guns and drugs. We understand that many community members, particularly parents, do have questions. These questions include the potential consequences of juvenile gun possession, what a gun looks like when taken apart, and what drugs actually look like. We want to provide information and give parents the opportunity to ask officers questions. We plan to offer information sessions at schools and to parent groups around the community and record them and translate them for folks who cannot attend. I'd like to invite Superintendent Jake Langley of Lewiston Public Schools to offer a few thoughts.
Good afternoon, everyone. Been living in Lewiston now for about just over 20 years. Work in our schools, obviously, and know a lot of the kids that have come through, both as a principal and as a superintendent. It's with a heavy heart that I say we're even having this conversation, because there are many things we have to be thoughtful about. One of them is how do we work together to ensure that the work and the steps that we take are having the impact that we hope to have, and that we don't accidentally or unintentionally have collateral consequences for those who are not involved in these situations. I want to thank Chief and his team for the ongoing support. Lewiston Public Schools has a very good working relationship. I've said that numerous times recently over the years with our SROs, our corrections folks, also the chief and the sergeants, working together to share whatever communications they are able to share under the law. I am looking forward to some policy review myself at the state level, maybe even federal, to see what pieces of communication can be shared with schools appropriately so that law enforcement hands are not tied and we don't find ourselves in a situation where some people knew information that we may have been able to act on differently, but we were unaware. That's a major concern of mine. Having said that, I think we have a lot of good people in our community, and it is going to take all of us. I have been preaching, if you see something, you need to say something so we can do something. Certainly my lens is going to be community and school safety, but schools are a wonderful place for people to gather, to share their thoughts, to speak truth to others, and we're going to open our doors and make sure that we're a key role and part of how we make that happen. Amran's been doing this work for a couple of years, and one thing I appreciate about her work is she tells the truth, and she says it like it is. So we hope all of us continue to do that and step up to this challenge. We have a lot of work to do, but certainly we can get better than we're currently doing.
Thank you, Superintendent Langley, for the work you do, and to all the educators across Lewiston for what you do each day for our youth. In addition to the 2 community engagement efforts mentioned, the city plans to create regular ongoing opportunities to build trust between the city, LPD, and the school department with local youth and ethnic community-based organizations. The city will take a more active role in working with organizations who work with youth, immigrant, refugees, and first-generation Americans. We are in the process of asking organizations to join police, city, and school administrators and staff for informal monthly meetings to discuss issues they are seeing and issues that we are seeing. We hope this approach builds trust, identifies issues before they become more challenging to manage, and make us more creative in communicating with and supporting our youth and our community. I'd like to invite Rilwan Osman, Executive Director of Maine Immigrant and Refugee Services.
Good afternoon, Galabun accent. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Rilwan Osman. I'm the Executive Director of Maine Immigrant and Refugee Services, based here in Lewiston. I think we all know why we're here. And first I want to thank the Chief, the Mayor, the DA, the Superintendent for coming here today to discuss about how we can make our city safer for all of us here in Lewiston. Our organization is committed in providing education, raising awareness, and offering support through programming to our youth and their parents. On behalf of mayors, we are excited about this new initiative of us all coming together to address this issue. This is not one organization, one person's issue. This is the issue of City of Lewiston, and we all need to come together and address this issue collectively. From the police department to the city officials, from the state, we have to come together, and also from the community. For the last couple months, community-based organizations, including Amron here, we have been having series of conversations internally within our organizations, community members, mothers, to discuss about how can we work together to address this issue, and we're willing to continue that. And I'm excited when I get this call yesterday about this initiative where we're going to be working with the DA, the police, and the city so that we can, again, collectively address this issue. Again, we are committed as an organization, as a community leader. I have 7 kids who are going through the school system. I have family members who have kids who are going through the school system. I want to make sure that they're safe, and you all want to make sure that your kids are safe here. And the only way we can make our city safe is if we all work together, from the youth, the parents, the organizations, the police, the city, and that's the best way we can address this issue. Gun violence is not something that, again, it's only Lewiston is dealing with. It's everywhere. But we have to have the resources to support our youth. We have to have the resources to support our families. We have to have the resources to support each other so that we can address this issue. So, thank you.
Thank you, Rilwan. We appreciate your work. Before we take a few questions from our media colleagues, I want to thank our officers. There's several of them standing in the back. They work hard around the clock to help all Lewiston residents. Your steadfast dedication to protecting and serving our community is admirable, and we are grateful for you each day. In closing, I'd like to reiterate what Superintendent Langley and I said in a statement to the community on Tuesday. Lewiston can be a safe place for everyone if we work together to stop violence. We showed the world last October that we are Lewiston strong. We can do that again by working together, because we all deserve to feel safe at school, at home, and throughout our community. We're looking forward to what these next steps will bring. We understand that these are not final steps in solving a complex issue, because complex problems require complex solutions. And with that, I'll turn it over to Andrea Mori.
So what we'll do, we'll have Lieutenant, also pass out the mic for reporters. Yeah. Now let's make sure it's turned on.
Test, test. So, my question is for the police chief. How come you guys aren't already working with the federal partners and the federal government or whatnot that you said you guys were collabing with already? I know that there's been violence previously, especially with last year happening. How come this is just steps now, or is this more to that?
This is adding more. Quite frankly, we've been working with our community, our federal partners for quite some time. We have an officer assigned to our federal DEA, as I mentioned, to our ATF program, their task force agents. When a crime happens here in Lewiston, Lewiston gets the precedence. There are officers assigned to their office. So we get a big bang for our buck, so to speak, by having officers there. We're soon also increasing that. We just assigned somebody to HSI, Homeland Security. They're going to do a number of things for our community, and it'll also add some more agents here in our new police department. We're going to be providing them with an office, as we are with, we're looking at doing the FBI Safe Streets, also having an FBI satellite office here, which could even replace the Bangor and Lewiston, Augusta offices to make them come work here. So it's nothing new that we've been doing. We're just hoping to add to it and implement further resources that we can depend on. Just on the way here, I spoke to U.S. Attorney Darcy McLean, and she assured me that she just asked for some help for us on our behalf, and it sounds like a lot of that help is going to come to District 3, which is Androscoggin, Oxford, and Franklin counties here in Maine.
Hi, Chief, or maybe this is a question for the district attorney, but what is the legislation that you think is needed to address this problem? You mentioned you're going to seek some, but what is it? What does it target?
I guess I can answer that, or if you feel more comfortable or whatever, maybe we can answer it together. So we met with the delegation just this past week. Some of the problems or the issues that we want to add to is there seems to be less and less consequences to people's actions. When somebody commits a crime, and I've been saying this since day one as police chief 3 years ago, there needs to be consequences for one's actions. And I think those consequences have been severely reduced as we went through these last 3 years, or even more for that matter. We have certain programs in place that are very well-intentioned programs that just, for some reason, it ties the hands of officers, and we want to make some changes to those, not necessarily eliminate those. The judicial system needs an overhaul, in my opinion, and you heard the DA McLean mention the same thing as well. It's very frustrating for our police officers who spend considerable amounts of time arresting people, charging people, doing due diligence to do their job, remain proactive, and actually want to do the job, when cases are getting dismissed at an unprecedented rate.
And it's not only what they can do, it's what they should not do, right? There's legislation out there right now that I am very troubled by. It was killed in the last legislative session, but we understand it's coming back, and it's the speedy trial bill. This speedy trial bill, make no mistake, is a mass dismissal bill. It's almost impossible for us to keep up with the rules that they will put in place for how to handle cases. For instance, if they give us 12 months to try a misdemeanor, and if we don't, then there'll be a presumptive belief that there's been a violation of the Sixth Amendment. We never try a misdemeanor in 12 months. That it will lead to mass dismissal of cases, and that will send a terrible message to the community. It will be highly unpopular with the citizens. So again, it's not only what they can do, but what they shouldn't do. And the last thing I would say that they need to do, and again it goes, don't forget prosecutors. There's a lot of movement with some of the defense programs out there, the public defender system, which we support and we want, but if you continue to funnel money to those organizations at the expense of prosecutors and don't remember that we too need to be resourced, that won't help the system. There has to be a balance in what they do.
I was just going to ask, you said you were going to increase the overtime budget for 3 months. What would happen after that?
That'll be something we'd have to revisit. I can tell you that we've put a lot of officers on the street on a regular basis, and if you've spent any time in the downtown area particularly, or even on the outskirts, we address problem areas as they crop up. We have a 2-officer team for at least 4 nights of the week currently. What I'm asking for is maybe a little bit more, so we can put those officers out there on foot during the daytime, perhaps during a weekend, kind of randomly, obviously, so we don't, we want to be able to address any situation that might come up. Just the other evening, we had a shooting incident, and there was 15 of us working because we've hired these officers to be there. Now, that's not their primary focus. Their primary focus is to do foot patrols and to be seen in the community and make people feel safe, because that's important. So that's going to just further bolster what we've already done.
And then back in 2012, there was a similar issue with gun violence in Lewiston, and the previous chief had increased hotspot policing. Is this going to be similar to that? It's this why did that ever stop?
Not necessarily. That program certainly had its benefits. We replaced it with some other things. Back in March of 2023, we initiated the Neighborhoods First initiative, and as part of that initiative, we formed a crime reduction unit, or also known as CREW. So that kind of took a little bit of the part of doing these sporadic details that you mentioned and have it an everyday thing. So these officers, there's 3 of them assigned to the unit, work during the day sometimes, work during the night sometimes. They vary their schedule, and they go after various quality of life issues, violence. I can tell you they've done a great job on many, many search warrants, drug search warrants, and as we all know, gun violence has a correlation to drugs.
Okay.
Last question.
My question's for the DA. You spoke on the lack of prosecutors. What is your plan to attract new hires, and how are you trying to address that backlog you spoke of?
So we need to be able to compete. When I interview people for positions and they hear what we pay them, and then they walk away and don't want to talk to us again, that's a problem. So we can't continue to think we can pay people $35 an hour to work 60 hours and be paid for 40, which is really what's happening. So we need to probably talk to legislators and talk about what they can do for us in that regard, and we'll do that. In terms of what we're doing with the backlog, we made an effort. We made an effort about a year or so ago, almost 2 years ago now. Again, highly unpopular, but it was something we thought needed to be done. And we communicated with law enforcement. Every law enforcement agency was communicated with. And they supported it insofar as they understood what we were trying to accomplish, and that was the blitz. So we had this 2-week court date where we moved probably about 900 to 1,100 cases off the docket. That's a temporary fix because crime keeps happening, right? So cases keep coming in. So that was a temporary fix. We went from about 5,200 cases in Androscoggin. We were down to about 22 at one point. We're now hovering about 2,400 cases a month at this point. So we're sustaining at this point, and sustaining is not sustainable. We need to actually make a difference. We need more court time. We need to line cases up for trials. We need less delays within the court system. We need cooperation amongst all the people that make up the court system. Law enforcement is doing their job. They're arresting people when it's appropriate. We're doing our job in plugging cases in. Remember, at the same time the community says we decline too many cases, everybody in the court system says we put too many in. The truth is we're balancing, and we're trying to do the right thing, but we'll continue to put cases in. We need time to try those cases, or we need people to honestly sit down and have real negotiations and move some of these cases and not utilize the backlog as leverage. Think of it, if you know that we can't get to a case, there's very little incentive for you to negotiate that case. Just sit on it. It will languish. If the speedy trial bill passes, it will go away. As long as that thought process is out there, the backlog will almost be impossible to fix. So we need help from our partners within the system. We are meeting with them, we're talking with them, and they know this is serious too, but we need to come to an agreement on how to do this.
Thank you all.
Thank you.